Hi there, and welcome to episode 125 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. I'm James Brown, tired and weary, and as usual, I'm joined by Dr. Alex Connor, wired and teary, and Mrs ADHD. Fucking annoying. Alex, hi.
What?
Sam, hi.
I like to leave a little pause here. A reminder that we started the podcast because we wanted to get shortlisted for the National Diversity Awards in the categories of effing and jeffing and being an ADHD superpower buzzkill. That's what we wanted.
I think you'll find that the charity was nominated and not the podcast.
Yeah, but back then we didn't have. It was nice. It's confusing. I still don't understand the difference. But
I'll tell you afterwards.
Charity. But now we do a second episode a week because it didn't occur to us how badly that doing that would affect our metrics. And Sam still doesn't know what metrics are or podcasts.
This particularly difficult shit stain in the toilet basin that even Domestos had, and a good hard scrub doesn't seem to be able to shift of a podcast, is also a tragedy in 3 parts. We'll discuss how we'll discuss how the week between podcasts has been from our perspective as people with ADHD and involved in the community, answer some questions and generally fuck about as usual. So we'll start off with the usual. I'll ask you how your week was. Nobody will ask me, but Sam will ask me. How was your week, Sam?
It's been pretty shitty. Yeah, because because of you. James has been in pain with his back this week and then has had constant migraines. So he was, obviously really struggling, and it was really hard for me to see him in so much pain. So I was really low, but actually I was so low and desperately low that eventually I thought I'm going to need to get some help, some like talking therapy and go back on antidepressants. And I was filling out the form online for the talking therapy and it said, how long have you felt like this? And I thought, fucking hell, it's been 2 days. What the fuck? And then I realized that, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing that I always do. And actually, I hadn't realized as well that I'm bleeding again. I know it's fucking constant at the minute. So that kind of all fed into it as well. So I'd got all this emotional stuff and I was just crying and like hysterical and just wanted to end it all for both of us, really. But yeah, and it was just temporary. And actually, because I was feeling so low, I then started, and I haven't done this for so long, but I got some credit and I bought a load of stuff and then hated myself, but then sent it all back and signed up to some mystery shopping to kind of pay for it all anyway. It's on campus this week, and I found another sign that I still hadn't taken down. Weeks later, still up. Yeah, and I spent all of my time doing stuff for the charity over the weekend. I should have been preparing for a coaching course.
Remember, that's the second question. Which
shit, yeah. I'll stop now. It's been mixed. How about you, James?
Yeah, Mike, I've got a question for you two. So, as Sam said, and as anybody that knows me, I get migraines, obviously, and all the stuff. But I've also got chronic back pain from when I broke my spine when I was 20-ish. And I have a choice, which is I'm in a lot of pain all the time. Like I have to get up at 3 a.m. because I'm in so much pain I can't lie down anymore. So I've got a choice, which is take the painkillers that take away probably 70% of the pain, but the painkillers give me about 4 migraines a week, or don't take the painkillers that give me the migraines and have the unbearable pain. So what would you two choose of those two? The back pain or the 3 or 4 migraines a week?
Back pain for me.
If it was for you, I'd choose both.
Good answer. It's a tough one.
It is really fucking tough. But having seen you with the migraines and the throwing up and being in bed, which makes your back worse, and
exactly. So we've made the decision.
James, honestly, if I really could, I would choose for you that your emotional response to the back pain is changed from one of not letting people down because of it and not feeling you have to do things that exacerbate it, which you do.
Yeah.
And so I would choose the back pain.
Do anything otherwise, and then he hates himself.
Yeah, exactly. That's the choice, isn't it? That reaction at the end. Yeah. It's not that he never does anything. He couldn't, can he? He'd have to reevaluate what he can do and for how long.
I have got better at that.
Yeah.
As you know, coaching clients I've cancelled will know, and as friends and family, some of whom accept it and some of whom don't, will know
I
that
was bored
at
for half an hour.
at the last minute saying I can't physically move. You know, for example. So, but yeah, I've chosen the back pain, which is challenging. So, like I say, this morning, 3 o'clock, woke up in searing pain for the entirety of my spine, and thought this. And last night I couldn't go to sleep because when you're just trying to settle off and empty your head, when your head's just going, that hurts, you can't get to sleep.
No.
So I had about 3.5 hours sleep last night, and I feel I can cope on that. So yeah, it's difficult. 4-day migraine, lots of back pain since. But other than that, I'm enjoying working with Spotify and tinkering around with it and learning bits and bobs. It's not perfect compared to what we used to have in terms of metrics. For example, there's a Q&A. Did you know there's a Q&A for each episode, which you put out, and there's an automatic one which just says, what are your thoughts on this episode? So people can leave thoughts which we can't respond to, and then we can choose to publish them or not. So for example, for one of I think it was the week in ADHD 31, and the question was, what did you think of this episode? Somebody put boring, which I published because I thought it was fucking hilarious, to be honest. Yeah. And if that's what you think, fair enough. But we can't respond to that saying, oh, you know, was it? Why? Love to know why.
I wouldn't love to know.
I wouldn't, you know. I
have zero interest.
But you know, I find all our negative reviews absolutely, you know,
yeah, you do, don't you?
They sustain me.
Oh, they kill me.
Yeah, and yeah. So that's my week, Alex.
Well, I've got this friend, right, and I was bored, and he, because of a little headache, couldn't entertain me in a break I had at work. And I don't want to moan, you know, it's not a moaning platform.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, bit of self-care for your friends.
Yeah.
It doesn't. No. Oh God. Honestly, fucking nightmare. Migraines are so debilitating. The klaxon, the level of suicide with them. You know, it isn't just you. It isn't. Oh, horrible. My week's been. I had my boys here, and they're visiting from university, and so weird. It's so lovely. They went back, and it was kind of horrible, but they went back to do loads of fun shit before term starts, and it's weird living vicariously through them. Is lovely. I got a free hammer, which
love this.
You know,
I mean, this does kind of show how successful you are at hiding your true self. That kind of the authorities would give you a claw hammer.
Or maybe they thought, I know what he needs, another claw hammer.
Yeah, because that one's filthy. Free hammer. So yeah, interesting week. Good and good sad. You know, like luxury pain, I believe the word is. Yeah. Right. As always, what stupid thing? The question you've already answered, Sam, and don't normally answer at all, which is weird. What stupid thing have you been doing instead of what you were supposed to be doing this week?
I spent all my time doing stuff for the charity when I should have been preparing for a coaching course. I don't know why I did that voice. Also, while I was at work, like really stressed because obviously James wasn't well, and I had this coaching course, and I was just hysterical. And I was in the kitchen trying to prepare. I was filling a flask of boiling water, basically, and I was talking to somebody. And while I was talking to them, I poured the boiling water from the kettle all over my arm, and it was soaking into my sleeve. But I was in such a rush, I thought, I haven't got time to deal with this. So it's almost like I willed my head to say, you haven't got time to feel pain. So I'm just pouring the water, thinking that this person, because they're a normal person, would do that thing that normal people sometimes do, where they pretend to ignore the fact that you're struggling or are suffering because it's impolite to do so. I presume. I don't know why they do it. So I thought she'd do that, and we just carried on, but she didn't. She just went, oh my God, Sam, you've poured boiling water all over. What did you do? And she had to and I'm going, it's fine. I just need to get this done. So she made me take like my cardigan off and rinse it under cold water, and she finished doing it for me. And yeah, it was really weird. I forgot as well that when I turned up to work on that same day, I couldn't get into the car park because there was a flatbed lorry. It doesn't matter. I had to park in another car park. And then, of course, when I came out, I was like, where the fuck is my car? I'm searching the whole car park, and it wasn't parked in another car park, hadn't I? Yeah, I've been trying to get. Oh, I won't carry on actually because there's loads that I can say for this week.
What? So when you sent me the text saying you hadn't done the prep for the coaching thing because you're doing the charity stuff, do you remember the words you'd used to describe yourself for not doing that?
Fucking dickhead.
Yeah, fucking. And it is absolutely classic, isn't it? ADHD to use those words against ourselves. When the reality is, if you've been given homework that your brain doesn't see the emotional value in doing, maybe because you know you'll be able to wing it, why would you? Why would you do it? Why would your brain allow you to do that task? It's not an idiot. I sometimes think ADHD is just sensible. It isn't. It's a nightmare. But, sometimes it's like, I don't need to do that. That is not emotionally rewarding. I'm not letting...
Well, it would have been surely. I really like doing the coaching stuff.
No, I know you do. But as you well know, when you did that coaching course without the prep, it was fine, right? And because you told me it was, which means your brain knew that the course is good, but doing that bit of work, fucking pointless. Yeah. Your brain wouldn't. This is task paralysis. It wouldn't let you. It's not being a fucking.
It's also a good example of perfectionism and how actually most people would worry so much about the prep for something because they think this. I've got to make sure I'm prepped. I've got to make sure I'm perfect, otherwise it's a waste. And the vast majority of times when you do something without that perfectionist approach, it's fine. Nothing really goes wrong, apart from the time when I went on the same course and didn't realize it was on campus and not online, so didn't turn up for it.
Yeah, I was once in Sainsbury's and I got a phone call saying, "Why aren't you doing this teaching?" Why am I in Sainsbury's in the workday? This is back when you were all like working in the office all the time. It was weird. I just wandered off.
Wow.
Amazing.
What about you, James? What stupid thing have you been doing?
I have been completely hyper-focused on merch and the extra stuff that we've been doing. So obviously the editing stuff's got better now. Sam and I have had a gentle conversation about how she edits the videos that she makes. ADHD Towers, Alex, I'm not sure if you're aware, is often an hour and a half long. And my contribution's about 6 minutes long. So it's lots of wild monologuing from Mrs ADHD, but it is all obviously ADHD related because it's the shit that happens to her every day, and people love it. I've been focusing, as you know, more on kind of the website and setting up merch, and so I've got this is, for example, a mug which I did yesterday. It's our "You're Not Boring, I Have ADHD" mug, and on the back now it says "You Might Be Boring," so it's kind of a hidden joke. I love doing it, but what I would say is at the minute, if you buy merch, obviously from us, because we haven't really got any money and we can't order stuff in, we are kind of, apart from the t-shirts, making it ourselves. So if you, we are doing
that. We're designing it and making it ourselves.
Well done. Round of applause.
So if you buy stickers or mugs now, they are literally handmade by me. So what I would say is, please don't buy merchandise at the minute because it's killing me. No, seriously,
I do love it. You love it.
I know, I do love it, and it is rewarding. So I've been doing that, but like before a meeting, 2 minutes before a coaching session, can I trim one more set of stickers? I'm sure I can. And then frantically trying to trim the stickers and put, it's like complete hyper focus. It is this, the special stuff, the sticker that will not be named. Kirsty Murphy knows about that. What about you, Alex?
What? I don't know what are you talking about? Well, certainly not the Merlin Bird ID app.
No, I don't know why we're talking about that.
What?
Anyway, we're going to take a break.
No, please give me this. I need to hear this.
Amazing. So obviously, I'm still on chess,
I'm Googling it. Immediately Googling it.
Oh God, it's so good. I think you'll like it, Sam. Honestly, I do.
I actually was thinking that. I bet I will.
It records as you're in the forest the sounds of the birds and tells you which one each is.
No,
like marsh
I would love that. Love that.
And you don't have to do anything. Just hold it up and it goes, "That's a Eurasian green woodpecker," and you can see it, and it is.
Me and my dad we'd be coming all over ourselves. Just
holy shit!
I can't even ding. I can't even. That is no, we can't.
Oh my
God. We can't. And it's my dad and I. I'm amazed Alex didn't say my dad and I would be coming over ourselves.
Oh my God. I've
Why
made
would
myself
that
feel
come out
sick.
of your mouth?
I don't know. I can't stop things coming out of my mouth sometimes.
Ding.
Anyway, we'd be delighted with that because we like doing it together. We don't like coming together though.
That's not normal. Look, and it records and it can distinguish between just unbelievably like speciated Eurasian green woodpeckers, the different ones. It's so good. And I checked this with my brother. Within 4 minutes of having the app, I went through the system of what everybody does. So the first thing is you hold the app up and you get this list of birds and you do it quietly and perfectly. After about 2 minutes, you start trying to copy the birds exactly to fool the app into thinking you're a Eurasian woodpecker.
Yeah.
All that. And then after about a minute and a half or 3 minutes,
You're bored.
You're going, who's a pretty boy? Try hoping it'll say parrot, and it doesn't. Pieces are right. It doesn't say parrot. He doesn't think you're a bird at all.
Well, thanks for that, both.
I was supposed to be working.
The James Dean of ADHD.
It is, in a way, I'm too cool.
You are.
Oh, no.
I think you are. Yeah. Well, we define our own cool, don't we?
God, I've actually made myself feel so ill.
Good. Like, said about your dad, or because of what?
Yeah, I can't describe to you how awful.
How much you ejaculate over each other when you.
God, it's just awful. Anyway, thanks for that, both. We're taking a break, and in part 2, we'll be back with questions and thoughts from the ADHD Adult UK community. Fucking hell, I feel so ill.
Alex, hi.
Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor. Jesus already.
Welcome back to episode 125 of the ADHD Adults. This is one of our Friday episodes, part 2. And not as always, what we're trying to do is banish the horrific vision that Sam left us with in part 1. No, that's not true. What we're doing is we're taking questions from the community, from all over the social media sphere, but mainly from James's Discard at the ADHD Adults. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads as well. Are you ready for the very, 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 very first question?
Yeah.
It's from Steve LW. It says, Sam, what's wrong with you? It doesn't.
It says, so many things.
It says, I'm currently listening to episode 38. So no spoilers. I don't know how are they asking this? This is confusing. Anyway, yeah, my question is for visiting Professor ADHD Adult James. Did you pick the starting music for the podcast? Because it sounds a bit like Don't Panic by Coldplay. I'm loving this. I always miss the beginning of what you say because it puts this song in my head. Obviously, Alex didn't pick the music as it's too modern. P.S. You're both great and finding the pod really helpful as I start my diagnostic journey.
Amazing.
Yes, James loves Coldplay and I don't. That's a fact.
They have nailed you two.
Yeah. Oh, they really have. Steve LW, it's a very good question. Just to clarify, I would hurl Coldplay into the sun.
They're amazing.
I would build a rocket and send them directly into the sun if I could.
Because they are James, they're the naughties Delamitri. Are you mad?
Delamitri were a Scottish band that had 2 hits and were quite dour. Let's put it that way. You know. They once did a song for the Scottish Football Club for the World Cup, which was called "Don't Come Home Too Soon." I mean, let's talk about building confidence in your team. No, so the music wasn't picked for that reason. It was actually picked. We use editing software called Wondershare, and there is free image rights music on there. I wanted to write and have been writing now for almost a year with DJ Sessions, friend of the podcast, Pat, a new intro because I've written a riff. And recorded it, and we've added drums, and Chloe, also a friend, Chloe Peacock, who is in a proper band and is a proper musician, has added a drum line, a bass line to it, but it's just getting it finished. So at some point, sorry people, change. The intro music will change a little bit. But I used it just because I wanted something that was a bit bland, and that's what obviously Coldplay are. So that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Obviously, I can't tell you a single Coldplay song or
I like Yellow
or distinguish.
Yeah, they're all nice. You know what? This is my this is I've spoken about this before. I'm very ashamed of this.
So you should be.
By this bias that I
Whatever
have.
it is.
I liked Yellow until I found out they were posh. And when I saw the video for Yellow, and I thought, oh, working class band, he's wearing like a hooded coat. It's not a bad song. And then when I found out that who Chris Martin was and who they were, I immediately hated them. But I will say that The Scientist is a fucking amazing song, and everything else they've done is dog shit on a toadstool.
Do you think he didn't mean it to be called Yellow? It was him trying to say hello or posh. Yellow.
That's such a shit joke. Anyway, question 2. It's question 2. This is from Funky Nicola. I listened to Sam's before diagnosis chat and identified with almost everything she said. Bloody love you, Sam. You're such a breath of fresh air. I'm pretty sure we'd be good friends if we met in real life. Anyways, I've self-diagnosed and I'm on the waiting list. Eyes looking up emoji, saving, and I'm wondering about what happens to the typical ADHD traits, not symptoms, with medication. Does RSD improve? Does time blindness improve? The constant need for dopamine hits, the inability to concentrate on a conversation. I'm wondering how high to get my hopes. Fuck me, that is a brilliant question, Funky Nicola. Alex?
Yeah, no, not really. So RSD, not really. This is not science klaxon, but pharmacologically speaking, the meds are more helpful for the main 3 diagnostic criteria of ADHD. That's hyperactivity, impulsivity, and the other one,
attention.
Inattention. So the bit that you've said, the question about right at the end, which is concentrating on a conversation, yes, it can help. It can help with that. Less likely with the emotional stuff. With time blindness, I haven't seen a lot of evidence for it. It certainly doesn't help me with it, but it does help you. It does help you function a little bit more. It doesn't cure you of those things because ADHD is more than just those 3 neurotransmitters. Fundamentally, the biggest thing I get from people who don't like the meds, who tried them, is, well, the side effects were horrible. I started booking a load of things I didn't know, and I went down rabbit holes on the internet, and I'm like, it doesn't tell you what to do. This is the thing. It doesn't go, oh, you're going to be interested in doing your accounts. Now, you still have to be a human who chooses their tasks. It will just allow you to focus on those without your mind wandering for a little bit longer. So I would say start to explore who you are at the same time. Psychoeducation really helps. This podcast is not a great example of that, but it does the job. And even therapy and other talking therapies can be really beneficial. So it will have a really gentle, subtle expectation of what the meds can do. They help a little bit. With anxiety, some people increase their anxiety. For me, it reduced it because my main anxiety was because of ADHD criteria. Sam?
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's really, really individual, isn't it? The things that it helps with and how much it helps with is different for absolutely everybody. Some people say that it does help with RSD, but I don't know whether that's just a coincidence that they're learning more about it and learning to do it. And I think things like that, RSD, learning about it and kind of accepting it and forgiving yourself for it, is a bit more effective than a lot more. God, I can't even fucking speak.
No, it's right, Sam. Just think, what if your RSD is triggered by the things that the meds helps? And so for some people, it's that, isn't it? They're feeling RSD because of the
because they're not. Yes, of course, yes. So helps with some people, helps with different things for each person. I'm going to stop speaking, James.
You both actually said useful stuff for once, which is fucking annoying. What I would say is that one of the ways in which the success of medication is measured is the impact it has on the at least 2 domains of life which you have a moderate impact in. Because if only one of those is assisted, you should then, but often aren't, be offered CBT as an add-on therapy. So what the medication effectively, designed is the wrong word, seeks to do is to make you more functional in those domains. So that could be at work in terms of finances, sleep, home, self-care. And Dr. Nick Bridgeford, who came on an earlier episode, good friend and trustee of the charity this podcast supported, once said, and I love this quote, the medication just makes you a bit more functional. And actually that is incredibly powerful. Now, as Sam said, for some people, it's like a golden bullet to the brain. And oh my God. And the quietening down of the noise is quite a big thing, which a lot of people don't talk about. But just it's not the screaming Stuart Lee clip that we talked about. Alex's face lit up when he saw it. That kind of constant narrative can be dampened down. That alone is precious, but it really is about making you just a bit more functional. And as Sam said and Alex discussed, that can then have a knock-on effect of improving the other things because you are a bit more functional. It's just such a killer question. Thank you, Funky Nicola.
Okay, question 3 is from Bob 1980. 1. Is workaholism a common theme in ADHD? Or, put in another way, I know many ADHDers struggle with conventional careers, but is working too hard, too much, a part of ADHD? Is this connected with perceived inadequacies, or maybe connected to the thrill of being under pressure? 2. Is workaholism / working too hard a potential negative side effect of being medicated? Alex.
Yeah, I mean, the second one's easy, isn't it? The second one's the same answers I've just given. You have to choose what you pay attention to.
Yeah.
The first one's much more complicated, right? Is workaholism linked to it? I would say taskaholism is definitely linked to it because a lot of people with ADHD, we tend to think we're lazy and we're fucking not. We just don't do the thing we're supposed to be doing. If you've managed to get yourself into a position where that isn't you and you do the thing you're supposed to be doing, unmedicated, I mean, so your work is the thing that you would hyper-focus on, you're quite lucky. But there are consequences of that on your family, on your relationships, on your physical health. So it's such a complex question of why you're a workaholic. Is it because of your insecurity? Is it because you think other people can do what you can do in half an hour, Sam, that you have to do in 12 hours? That is exactly what sounds like. Well, presumably everybody else could do this in 12 minutes, and I have to therefore spend 9 fucking hours doing it. And so it's a very individual question. James?
I would say that there are 3 non-diagnostic traits and 1 diagnostic trait that could lead to shut up. Could lead to workaholism. The non-diagnostic ones are RSD, rejection sensitivity, imposter syndrome, and perfectionism. Yeah. Because those 3 things, personally, and I've been speaking to somebody about the perfectionism angle recently about how they just have to work extra hours to get things done because people in their team aren't doing them, and those jobs won't get done if they don't do the extra hours, and therefore they're burning their mental health and being a workaholic to make sure a job which they don't have full responsibility is done perfectly. And my own personal anecdote, when I was an academic, I was doing, and I wasn't proud of this, there were people in our department, like I say, like this podcast board person that fat shames people, who would often publicly say, I did a 90-hour week, like it's a badge of honor. And actually, it's not a badge of honor. It's a badge that you're not working effectively if you're having to do 90 hours. But if you are driven by RSD and imposter syndrome and perfectionism, you can end up doing 70, 80, 90-hour weeks because of the fear that you're going to get sacked or that you're not good enough, etc. The diagnostic symptom that could lead to it, if, as Alex said, you're lucky enough to have a job which you find rewarding, is that kind of driven by a motor thing, that if you just need to keep on doing something, if you actually enjoy doing your job, then that's something you might just keep on working. And all of this in terms of negative side effects can lead to burnout. It's one of the reasons we do burnout, is that we struggle to rest, and often the thing we focus on incorrectly is work.
Yeah, that's so true. Because of domestic anxiety, I just can't stop, which means that I do end up burning myself. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. And another thing, you're right, the perfectionism, the imposter syndrome, the low self-esteem, all of that makes you work so much. But also because I'm a control freak, and because my thinking is very fixed, and I like things done a certain way. So I will do things the way that I want them done, not trust other people to do things sometimes, which means that I end up working a lot more. But the other thing I would say is that I'm definitely guilty of this now that I'm medicated. Before I was medicated, it's all or nothing. I could literally spend all day and could not do a thing. So I think it's really individual. And I know some people struggle to do anything, but now that I'm medicated, I I just can't. Actually, at first, when I first started being medicated, I would go into hyperfocus so much more. I don't so much anymore. I think I've settled on it more. But yeah,
Me too.
yeah, it was really bad. But yeah, I think now that I'm medicated, yeah, definitely, I do not want to stop ever, because, and I think as well, part of it is because I've got that memory of when I couldn't do anything at all, and I don't want to be like that again. So
If
I
I
daren't stop
forget
in case I fall into that and get used to that again.
one
So I
day
think
off,
it's
and
really
it's
individual
horrible,
for
right?
everybody. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I haven't had a day off. I'm on annual leave at the minute, and I've literally
No,
booked it.
sorry, one day
Oh,
off
sorry.
meds. I mean, and you're like,
Mm.
oh God,
Oh,
this is what I'm
yes.
like.
Yes. My God, yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm like, why can't I function? I don't understand.
Yes,
I
yeah.
can't do
What's
all the
wrong with me?
things that I
I'm
normally
ill.
do.
Yeah.
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 But,
I
you know,
thought it was a
just
side effect. Like with
just quickly
steroids,
before
like-
we take a
Yeah.
just quickly before we take a break,
God.
I don't get that. If I take a day off meds, I'm no different, and that does worry me a little bit as to whether they're effective. And it does make me question my ADHD. If I don't take meds for a day, other than the fact that I eat more, I don't really feel any different. And I know that may be down to metacognition and alexithymia,
It
etc.
is.
But
I think if you waited a longer period, I think you're kind of into a habit, but it would fall off.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam, it's
probably.
just that he doesn't pay attention. When he did it with a sheep for his psychiatrist, the results were not the same. You know that's true.
Anyway, this is this is written in blue, but fuck it. We're going to take a break, and in part 3, thoughts on this week's theme and podcast. See you in a bit.
That's my bit.
I know. Trumpet.
Welcome back to episode 125 of the ADHD Adults Podcast, where we're talking about oh no, it's the week in ADHD, isn't it? But anyway, it's related to BPD, which is not bipolar disorder, it's borderline personality disorder, which shouldn't actually be a thing, it turns out. James, what made you choose the last idea for a theme?
Oh, we're back to flawless as usual, are we?
Exactly. Yeah. The first thing I'd say is that you may have picked up that Alex always tries to put us off when we do an intro by saying one just before we start, and I thought she did really well to cope with that.
I didn't even notice it.
Then it fell apart in the middle, and then I do like the name borderline personality disorder better, considering this is a woodpecker-based podcast.
Don't remind me of birds.
I specialise in bird law mainly.
Birds. Okay. What made me choose the idea for a theme? Again, it's just so many people are asking me about it or telling me, that while they're seeking their ADHD diagnosis, they already have a BPD, when I was saying they think they've got ADHD and their psychiatrist is refusing to consider the possibility because they've got BPD. I think this is a bigger problem than the misdiagnosis with bipolar. I think that there is a clear link between. I think more people have ADHD and bipolar than get misdiagnosed with one and the other. I think in this case, there is probably, and this is again my opinion, there is a lot more misdiagnosis with BPD and ADHD. And I think it's just so important that we get good information out there. Alex?
Well, I printed out the list we have and laminated it and have it up on my wall, and it was the one in my eye line. I didn't know we were doing it. So. Say it.
I have no editorial rights in this podcast whatsoever. I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't read the script. As usual, I just turn up.
Even if that.
A thought or a tip from the theme that you forgot to say, Alex?
Yeah. I don't like I think it should get in the bin as a con. I don't think it's helpful telling people their personality is a disorder at all. I think that it's a manifestation of neglect on top of a neurodivergence. I will also say that I think, for example, histrionics, I think it's used often, BPD, against women more than men. If you look at the numbers, I think it's something like 3 times as likely to be diagnosed in women. And I think with men, you would either accept it as a bloody man, or you'd give them a more helpful mental health diagnosis. And so
Or maybe men don't come forward as much to say that they're struggling.
So I don't think it means that not just that more women have got it, they're more likely to be diagnosed with it, and I think that is internalized misogyny.
Right.
Because you're right, we know that men are less likely to seek help for this, but I think that women, we know, don't we, James, that when women knocked off the ADHD diagnostics, it was to diagnose them with something else, and this is one of those something else's.
Right.
And in some cases, over 90% of women being screened off that diagnostic process in some areas.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you stop having your tantrums, Sam, you could get an ADHD diagnosis. That's kind of, I like saying it because it felt so wrong, but I think
well, and in the beginning of the episode last time, I was like, oh, that's so women then, because
exactly.
a lot of the things you're saying is stereotypically, we're hysterical, we're emotional, all those things,
Yeah.
James,
exactly.
or had you finished? What?
No,
this is my bit. It's my bit.
Carry on. Carry on.
It's just all I get to do.
No, I'd like. This is important. I'd like you to carry on. I would sulk and not carry on, but I'd like you to carry on.
James.
Have you finished? Have you honestly finished?
Are you going to fucking
I had finished. Yeah.
Right, James.
I was just making myself laugh.
Just for a second, look at the name. Now, we've talked repeatedly to the point of people being bored fuckless with it about how bad a name ADHD is. How much worse is borderline personality disorder? Now, Alex was just discussing in the break about how in medical terms it's there for a reason, in the same way that ADHD is there for a reason. But just try and imagine how it feels like to be told you've got a borderline personality disorder, to have to tell your friends or family or people at work, your HR, that you have borderline personality disorder. For me, it sounds very much like it would be tainted with the levels of stigma that saying schizophrenia was and probably still has for many years. I think, considering the lack of the broadness of the diagnostic criteria, the way in which they cross over with so many other psychiatric conditions, and the fact that clearly many psychiatrists are happy to give out this diagnosis whilst being less happy to give out a diagnosis of ADHD, I just, I can't really imagine what it must be like to live with those symptoms, and then at the same time have Alex's phone going off repeatedly with text messages, which we can hear for some reason, probably because it's in front of his microphone, and at the same time have to put up with.
I did Be Real. I've never done it while I'm on a podcast.
Oh, amazing. At the same time, to then have to put up with that fucking awful name. We need to listen. We know we need to sort psychiatry out. There is so much good that it does, and it's a lot better than it fucking used to be.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. I mean, as a society, if you look
at evidence, I mean, I can't do anything towards that.
I'm really busy this week. Can we do it next week?
Evidence-based medicine, Sam, it's very slow, where we go from evidence from very big studies, randomized controlled trials, meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials, these huge big studies that show actually this works and that doesn't. It takes fucking years for that to end up getting into medicine. And in psychiatry, because there aren't most of those trials are, does this medication work for that thing? Not, is this thing actually a thing? Should we be changing how we look at this thing?
You have to persuade fucking politicians to support it as well. You have to
exactly.
persuade them to support what is a medical diagnosis. Oh, I don't think it is. I think it's naughty boys. It's just bullshit system. And there's a fucking link to a dopamine mutation in BPD as well, incidentally, from a genetic perspective.
Incidentally.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I think just like I said before, what an awful label to be given, to then be given this diagnosis, and then you've got to go out there and tell people I've got a borderline personality. I mean, what the fuck? It just sounds awful. There's no way that you're going to open up and tell people about that and tell people that you might need help or you're struggling. It's just shit. I don't know. I'd maybe not call it, or maybe not say that you've got a diagnosis, but maybe just tell people the way that you need help from them and the things that you struggle with, and get that across. Like the same way that, as I say, before you get an ADHD diagnosis, you don't have to disclose your ADHD, to tell people how they can help you and what you need help with and what you struggle with. And I'd say the same with this. Even if you've got a diagnosis, you don't need to tell people what the diagnosis is. Just try and reach out and tell people how they can help you and what you struggle with. That's it.
Yeah, on that ultra positive note, That was episode 125 of the ADHD Adults. It was the first ever Friday or possibly Thursday extra edition of the ADHD Adults Podcast after Monday's episode on ADHD and borderline personality disorder. If you like this nonsense and want to get involved, contact us at the ADHD Adults on the socials, Discard, James's Discard, Twitter while it's still alive, Instagrams, Threads, whatever that is, and all the other things. Have a lovely weekend. Goodbyes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Trigger warning klaxon. Klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning klaxon. Klaxon, klaxon, klaxon.